The movie Pinocchio gets ignored and no one cares about it. But recently I watched it and I found some incredible cinematic techniques and perspectives that we are still using today. For example, this movie uses so many POV shots, and the imaginary animation camera is put into some very unique places. So come along with me and explore how Pinocchio changed filmmaking forever. Do you remember when you were 12 and it seemed like anything you did blew people's minds? You would show your parents a drawing you made or a little song you made up on a toy piano, and they would be ecstatic, over the moon. Well, that's not happening to you anymore because you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s, and it's like, yeah, you did that. Good, you're an adult. Here's a gold star. It doesn't feel so good anymore, right? That's what Pinocchio is like for me. These animators had just started out and everything was so exciting. They were blowing people's minds left and right because this was a new art form, and it was extremely difficult to do just very simple things back then. Everything had to be hand-drawn, hand-photographed. It was an extremely tactile, arduous process to bring a film to life. This movie came out in 1940. They were figuring all this out as they went along, and they used Pinocchio as this springboard to try out all of these new animation techniques. As a filmmaker myself, I am very interested in camera placement, and that's particularly what I want to talk about in this video, some of these cinematic effects they were able to achieve and these camera effects. Now, what this film does very well is they try to stay very close to the physical world. They are contained within the laws of our physical world. So at the very beginning of this movie, what they do with this piece of paper falling on this cricket is they tell you, hey, this is a real scenario here. You can actually prop up this book here with this little candle and it'll work. They're setting up the rules to this world. And then they go through the storybook and they have this big sweeping massive aerial shot that goes down to this village. And from the very beginning, you're being told, look, this movie is not what you'd expect. And then in the first minute of the movie, they throw you into this point of view of a cricket hopping onto a windowsill. The camera is his point of view. I don't know how they did this, but there's parallax effect inside that window there. You see the room is moving independently. What an incredible shot. And who thinks of this, by the way? Who's like, oh, you know how GoPros, you can attach those to your camera and you can have like a point of view? No, they didn't have GoPros back then. Cameras were massive. This was a cinematic experience that no one had ever seen before. A point of view shot from a little bug. What a gift. And back then, these audiences, they had never seen anything like this, so I bet they were floored. Here's something else they did with Pinocchio with camera placement. Someone's like, hey, you know what? We're showing this puppet going around. Why don't we go inside the fishbowl? No one's ever seen that before. That's impossible to do. So an animator has to imagine what it would be like to be inside that fishbowl and animate this movement. I mean, how do you even begin thinking about how to start this shot? Oh, he needs to warp in a perfect way, drawn by hand. Again, they're giving the audience a gift of a new perspective, something they've never experienced before. And movies now, they don't have any of that. I want to take a moment and talk about this. It's storytelling again. This was a cinematic, innovative process, and this was at the forefront of it, and we were surprised by being put in a fish tank. But now, audiences expect unique angles, unique perspectives. Nothing impresses us, from the camera to the computer animation. In 2025 almost, we are in territory again where it just is the storytelling. Is it a captivating story? Because I don't care about effects anymore. But back then, people did, and it was impressive. Oh, as a cinematographer, I focus on lighting a lot. Check out this shot. I mean, first look at where his shadow is. Geppetto's shadow on the pillow here. He gets up, The room's bright. Where's the light coming from? Oh, it's this little candle. And now let's redraw the entire background and have it be night. Let's have it be darker. Oh, even this shot, just from this frame to the next. You see that? See it? They tried to get it as perfect as they could. They tried to match it with a different lighting quality. And I love that. This is a use of a practical light on set. That's what we call it in the film industry. A light that's in the frame that's affecting the room. Now, this is what's interesting. At this time, in movies, you could not light a scene with a candle. They did that with Barry Lyndon with these like extra bright candles and a lens from NASA later on. But at this time, this is an animated movie. They can do whatever they want. Someone's like, hey, I've never seen a scene before lit by a candle. Let's trick the audience to think that our animated candle is lighting the scene. Let's play with lighting effects. They're showing everyone, look what we can do. We can light a whole scene with a candle because this is animation. And look, then he turns it back on again. All part of the story, but look at the background. It's drawn dark, and then they had to match that drawing perfectly, but with new lighting. And look at this. When he walks away, the scene gets a little bit darker because the candle's going away with him. And I love that they paid attention to that detail. Look how much darker it gets. He's walking away, the light is going with him with the candle. And this seems so obvious, but these little details are sometimes the most difficult to nail, and they're invisible here. You watch this movie as a kid, you never would even think about this. Look at his shadow. It's coming from the candle onto his nightgown, and the back is darker. And at this time, they couldn't really do a gradation between the shadow and the light because it would have not animated well, but they're still doing shadow. It's impressive. Okay, so this is a famous establishing shot in the movie. You're dealing with these painted backgrounds. And so you're thinking, how do I make this more interesting? Well, a bell moves and a bell's up high. Let's do that. It says it's morning time. Now let's have birds. Now look how they animate these birds. This is so impressive. Beautiful animation. Coming down, the camera swooping down on a camera crane. Past these trees, foreground elements, we move past them. Gives us a sense of moving forward, not just zooming in, we're moving in and elements are coming past us. And these were all on separate panes of glass that they had to pull away as the camera went through so the camera could go. And a lot of these Disney movies, they filmed with the camera pointing down, but this movie, for this shot in particular, was actually sideways so they could move those panes of glass because they were going into this thing. And then the camera settles in, and then we're panning on a long lens, like a 100mm lens. Look at this bokeh. This is a rack focus shot. Look at this house. It's out of focus. The camera goes in. Oh, now it's in focus. 1940. Second full-length animated movie. Amazing. So Pinocchio's just been hoodwinked by these ne'er-do-wells, and he's walking down the street. Look at the foreground elements and how they're in shadow. This is a bright day, but we've got the foreground elements in shadow and ominous feeling here as he's going off to do something. We're like, oh, don't go with these guys. We're on a long lens and the camera is panning through this little town. And look, oh wow, I'm gonna stop it here. I love this. This is so real. The characters are like barely in frame. They're being covered. Oh look, oh they're just at the bottom here. We're panning across with a long telephoto lens. Oh, they go out of the frame, they go in the frame. It's pretty loose. It's almost documentary style. And we're spying on these characters from hundreds of feet away, above the tree, and as they go past here down the stairs, now most of the frame is filled with these foreground elements, and we got our little guys walking away. Lastly, I want you to pay attention to what direction they're walking. They're walking screen right, and that is very important that they planned ahead and did this correctly. Whenever Pinocchio in this movie is going off towards adventure or danger, he's walking screen right. When he's going home, he's walking screen left. I'm blown away by this. Very imaginative. I would not have ever thought of this camera angle. And when I saw this recently with my daughter, I saw this shot and I'm like, I have to make a YouTube video about this. This is like really cool stuff. Now, one of the main characters in this movie is this little cricket, and so by necessity, we have to go down to his angle. And so there's a lot of unique perspectives in this movie, which I think is great because at this time, you know, Citizen Kane had dug the hole in the ground and had that low shot around this time. But it was not normal to put the camera in these weird places. And so animation is doing what it does best, which is telling a unique story that isn't told any other way. This is the best way to tell the story. Live action can't do this. That's why animation was so special. So the camera's on the ground here. We're with our little cricket character, and look at the shadows going past the characters. And look at this point of view shot. Under their feet. How would you film this if it was live action? An animator had to think, okay, I would be on the ground looking up, and they had to imagine what this would look like. And then they had to animate it. But what a unique perspective here. We got the sky above them, very convincing. Now we're on his point of view, going back, and look at this, the shadows. This movie does such a good job with the shadows. Animating shadows must be incredibly difficult. You've got all of these different surfaces, but I love the shot that we're following this guy, and look at this angle. We're back by the feet again. Grass is going by us on this little cobble street, and now we're on the hat, a close-up of this moving shot. Every single shot in this sequence is unexpected, imaginative, unique. We're putting the audience in a unique place. People watch movies to be put into situations and to be given perspectives that they are not normally acquainted with. And so that's why this next shot is so impressive. They're like, oh, you know, he's gonna pick the lock for him. And someone on the Disney team, I don't know who it is, goes, oh, let's go inside of it. Let's go inside of a lock. And they're like, oh, we can't do that with live action. No one's ever seen that before. Let's go inside of an old, dirty, dark lock and see a big eyeball looking through the keyhole. Again, unique perspectives. What a smart thing. So there's something unexpected in this scene. This is not about a camera angle. This is just something else. Look at this wagon. When I saw this, I was like, oh, no, that's not animation. That is film that's been colored. And I was like, okay, so they built a wagon and they filmed it in the right angle here. And then they colored it in post and kind of put it in with the footage because they didn't want to animate a wagon. And that's what my guess was. And I was right. I watched the behind the scenes. It was not a full-size wagon. This was a model wagon made just for this movie. Then they matched the camera and they were able to color it in post, paint over it and kind of make it look like it matched. I thought that was really smart. Okay, here we have another point of view. He's been naughty. He's a drunk kid, I guess, in a Disney movie. He's like completely wasted. He's been drinking all day, and now he's smoking. And oh, he's trying to look at the 8-ball. Oh, someone's like, hey, let's see his perspective and let's make it look like he's drunk. And the 8 can kind of be like morphing. First of all, how do you even animate this? It's beautiful, very well done. But look at that 8 morphing. Give you a little point of view shot there. Put you right into his, and then his eyes roll like marbles. What a silly idea. Look at this scene here. So they do leave this room screen right. But then the next shot, which is unconventional, is screen left. Normally you'd see someone running out of a door screen right, and you'd assume the next shot would be screen right to continue that action. But they've turned around now, and they're going towards safety. They're running screen left, back to the house. You'd never think about it watching this movie, but it definitely helps keep track of geography throughout the whole thing. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little YouTube video. Thank you for paying attention to Pinocchio with me for a few minutes. I think old stuff like this gets forgotten, and there is a cinematic language and a cinematic history that's embedded in older films like this that is built upon over decades to where we are now. And once again, I'd like to say that we are in an interesting time now where AI can make a whole shot for us. Computer animation has just become so good, and the effects in movies are so top level now that we don't care anymore about that. Audiences don't care about that at all. What we care about is artistry and fantastic storytelling, which still is a tall order, but Hollywood's all grown up. The movie industry is all grown up now. For the time being, the movie industry is a 40-year-old who sketches something and shows it to you, and you go like, yeah, great, like you're 40. I expected that. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to watch more videos from Epic Light Media, feel free to watch more videos from Epic Light Media. That's fine. Leave comments, engage with us, whatever, but don't subscribe. Our channel does not accept new subscribers. We don't want new subscribers. Thank you.